Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, however this might find you. Welcome to Riffin on Main Street. I'm Ken Elmore, the proud president of Dean College, and I'm even more honored that I've got a really special guest joining me today. I want to introduce you to James McLaughlin, Fire Chief here in Franklin, Massachusetts.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, President, for having me here.
I'm glad you're here, and you even got dressed up for us.
I had to wear my best to be at Dean College.
I appreciate it. So, I like to always get a sense as to who people are and what they do, and I hope that what we can do is talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then I, of course, want to talk a little bit about firefighting and being a person that does what you do in 2023, because something tells me it's really different from the way that I grew up, and maybe you too as well.
Absolutely. It's changed quite a bit.
And you've seen a lot of change.
I have.
So where are you from?
So I was born and raised my early years in Providence, Rhode Island. My sister and two wonderful parents. And went through the public school system. And then in 1988, I joined the Warwick, Rhode Island Fire Department. It's a city just outside of Providence. Rhode Island, everything's just outside of Providence.
I was going to say, right.
So
I live just outside of Providence.
Yeah. So I did 30 years with the fire department from '88 and retired in 2018 as the fire chief and the EMA director. Good-sized department. It was about 220 members. It was a good-sized department. And as soon as I retired, I went to work for Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency to use my EMA skills. And I thought that'd be a good way to kind of get out of the fire service, but not totally get out of emergency service. And I did that for a year, but about 4 months into it, I realized I still had the fire in my belly with the fire service and the chief of the Canton Fire Department at the time. I saw him at a conference. He said, there's a town of Franklin has a fire chief opening. You should put your name in. And I didn't take it serious at first. The next couple of days, I said, maybe I'll put my name in, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and I guess the rest is history. So I started here in July of 19. I started here, so I've been here for 4.5 years.
Okay, so you were here during the pandemic.
Yes.
So back up for me a little bit. What made you decide that you wanted to go into fire services?
Well, my dad did 35 years with the Providence Fire Department, and so as a lot of firefighters, if you get that exposure early on, most young children want to be a firefighter at some point in their life. Most grow out of it. I just happened to not grow out of it. I looked at different options as I was getting older, but I just felt like I wanted to serve in that capacity. I was exposed to it early on, and I'm glad I did. I really enjoy it, and I still enjoy it. And I tried to get away from it in 2018, and it didn't work out quite well. So I'm really fortunate to have the opportunity to extend my career in the fire service here in the town of Franklin.
So you love it. I mean,
I really do.
That's really it.
I really do.
What makes you love it? What is it?
It's just, when you're a young firefighter, it's just the excitement. It's just the excitement of the adrenaline rush when the bell hits. And the fire service basically handles all of the needs of a community, of someone on their worst day, except for what the police, law enforcement issues. It's not just fires, but certainly the EMS. It's certainly something as simple as an elderly person falling out of bed. That's an emergency for them.
Right.
We're into hazardous materials, tech rescue now, which I know we'll talk about what it's evolved to, but you're really dealing with someone on their worst day, and it is fulfilling. It really, truly is fulfilling to know that you've helped somebody out during that worst day. And the adrenaline rush. It's just, every day is different. And I think that's probably been the biggest draw, and I think most firefighters will tell you that. There's no 2 days are ever the same.
Right.
And you just don't know what's going to be happening, so you just have to be prepared for it all. So I think that's the most gratifying part of the job.
Well, I find it interesting that it's changed a lot. I mean, you said you went in when you were about 20 years old.
Yes.
And you've seen, not to say you're old, you've seen a lot.
No, I am. Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of change.
I have.
And through all the change, you still keep that love for what you do.
Absolutely.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, tell us, how has it changed? And I know it's a lot.
It really has. Being a young child with my dad in the service, he went on the fire department in 1956. So, I was exposed to stories. They had such limited gear. They had such limited knowledge. The hazards were always there. But the technology that they had then, the knowledge and the gear, just the gear alone, how it's come forward. Now you have, a firefighter used to have boots. Even when I came on in 1988, they were down. They just come up to your knee. Now we have them come all the way up to your waist. We're totally encapsulated now. Hoods. Before we used to say, you felt the back of your ears get hot, you'd know you were in a bad spot. You were getting too. Now we're totally encapsulated,
Right.
which is great for the safety of firefighters. However, it comes with a negative that you got to really be aware of your surroundings because you don't have that exposure. So it's a good thing, but it's also a lot of education has to come. But now we have thermal imaging cameras. Before we'd have to open up a wall to see if there's fire inside. Now we don't have to do as much damage. You have these thermal images cameras so we can see in there.
Right.
The technology has just rapidly come up this way, and the education and with firefighters today, we want educated firefighters because it's so important to have that component as well. And it's come. The vehicles are different. It's just it's come along for the better. It's making firefighters more protected, but it also is very important to keep up with the trends. Like right now, lithium-ion batteries. Like that's where we are right now, where electric cars, and they burn so much hotter, longer. It takes us longer time to put them out.
Really?
A lot of these batteries on bicycles are creating fires in apartments, in houses. It's going to be it's an issue. It's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with in the future, but it's here. But we got to be prepared for that. We got to be prepared for that.
So your education, you're constantly having to just get up on a whole lot of things, chemically, the way people live. Wow, that is fascinating.
And the medical side, and here in Franklin, you have to be a paramedic to even apply to be on the Franklin Fire Department. So the EMS, they've been doing that for years, well before when I got here.
Right.
But their recertification requirements for that paramedic licensure is incredible.
Yeah.
It's a lot to it. So, and we really provoke with that. We promote education, formalized education. Here, you have to get your associate's degree after your first 5 years, after you come on the job. And we see most of our members right now pursuing the bachelor's and even the master's degrees, which makes a more educated workforce, which is great for the department.
So you say before you can even apply to be, or in order to apply to be in the Franklin Fire Department, you've got to be a paramedic. Right. Is Franklin the only town that does that, or are there other towns that do that?
Nope, there are some towns that do that, but I think it's becoming less and less. A lot of departments, they'll require you to be an emergency medical technician, an EMT. Then they'll allow you a certain amount of years after you come on to get that.
Right.
But we don't have to deal with that right now. We'd like to keep our bar high as long as we can. Internal recruitment and retention is something that is becoming an issue, both with the fire service, the police, everywhere. For that matter.
So tell me, why is that? Just not as many people going into it, or?
The numbers are down everywhere.
Really?
And we're trying to figure that out why. And the department just put together an internal committee. I know I've asked you to take part, which I appreciate next month.
Looking forward to that.
And we need to partner, and we need to figure it out. These new recruits, potential employees, are not walking to us. We have to go out to them.
Right.
And we have to educate ourselves better as to what the needs are for the new generation. Is it things like their schedules? Do we have to modify work schedules? Do we have to modify time off? We have to get input from the younger generations, and we have to adapt to that to be successful.
Sure.
And the numbers were always there throughout the bulk of my career. It was never a problem getting folks to come on the fire department. No matter what department you talk to anywhere in this country, the numbers are simply down, and drastically within the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Really?
For that matter, yes.
And do you think so? You were telling us that you have people, when they apply, they've got to be paramedics. And so that says to me that the nature of what fire services and fire safety and everything is about is that you probably spend a significant amount of your time doing things like rescue and
the EMS.
EMS work.
Absolutely. I'd say about 73% of our calls is EMS.
And 73%?
73%. Now I would say that number is about the average, the norm, no matter what fire department you go to.
Wow.
And it's a service. It's a very important service, but they're very busy. Our numbers are creeping up. Last year's the first year we went over 5,000 runs, and right now this year we're going above that from last year's numbers. That's the bulk of the work, EMS, in the fire service. And Some people think just the ambulance are the ones that provide that service. Our fire apparatus also have the firefighters that have that same medic license.
Wow.
They're just on the truck, but they're also there to support them on a run.
Big change.
Yes.
So with these kinds of changes, well, first off, do you think people in Franklin understand that this is the bulk of your work?
That's a good question. We don't hide it. We're pretty much vocal about that. We do our annual reports to the town in the town annual report book. We put all our numbers out there from the previous year. I'm not sure, but it is the fact. It is the fact of the matter. We don't want to be in a community where we have fires every day, and that's a tribute to the fire prevention efforts, which is extremely important, which we also do. But obviously, fires happen, and I look at the fire service. Firefighters is almost like athletes. You spend a bulk of the time training, practicing.
Right.
And an NFL player has 17 to 20 games a year, so we might have 17 fires, but we have to use all that other time to be adequately prepared to be ready for game day.
Sure.
And that's how we look at that. But EMS is predominantly the bulk of our calls, for sure.
And Chief, I understand you're doing a lot of really interesting and innovative kinds of things out there to meet the needs, but also I think to keep modernized. You want to talk about a few of those?
Yeah, modernization, we're very active with pursuing grants with the department, and we've gotten a lot of good equipment to keep up with the technology. This town is a wonderful, wonderful town to work for. Between the town administrator and the council, they're so supportive of our needs. This community is supportive of our needs here. And but we also want to do our part and make sure we help out through being very aggressive with grants to get funding to offset the cost of the local tax base. But we do a lot of that. And we reorganized the whole department in July of 20. We put a battalion chief's rank in. Our EMS division, we're in between growing pains right now between we have 2 EMS ambulances right now. And we're getting to the point where we're going to need that third, but we're not quite there. So what we're using is a part-time ambulance during the day during peak time, where most of those EMS calls are. So we don't have to have it all the time.
I see.
But just when the peak time hours, we're putting in 30 ambulance sets. We've just started doing that a few months ago, and it seemed to work out well. And they also man the ladder truck as well. Training, we have a robust training division, and there's all new techniques that come up, and we just got to stay ahead of it, stay on top of it with both the equipment and with the training, stay on ready for like I talked about the batteries, stuff like the new electric cars. These are the things that are fairly new to us, and we got to be prepared to deal with it appropriately. And
tell us a little bit about the fire department itself, the personnel and
fire
who
department,
you got there.
Yep, we have 58 firefighters there. We have 1 civilian. I can't forget Tracy. She's the glue there.
Okay.
And we have 58 firefighters, and they honestly are very, very hard-working, dedicated group. Great morale. Great. They really enjoy what they do. They're busy. They do a lot. There's 11 firefighters on duty in this town any given day on a shift. And there's 35,000 people here, and we're doing over 5,000 calls. They're busy. They're doing a lot of good work, and we've got great support by the community, and I think that means a lot. When they know that the council, the town administrator, the president comes to the president of the university in town. I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but when we have our Firefighters Memorial Sunday, our day, we have a retirement party, you show up. Those things matter to these folks because they come back to me and they say, wow, that's something that someone makes that effort to be here, serving on a committee that we just put together. So we do appreciate that. But I think when they know that the community really supports them, it just makes getting up in the morning and doing your job that much better. They feel really good. But they work hard, we train hard, and they do a good job. I have to mention we got that ISO 1 designation in March of 22, and that was really good that we were able to do that. It was a collaboration, and it really recognized us. There's only 9 departments in Massachusetts that have it, 15 in New England, so it was a good goal for us, and it just shows that we're working hard to make sure we are readily prepared to do what we need to do for the community, and we're very proud of it, but it's important that we sustain it. Once you get it, that doesn't mean you have to work hard to sustain it.
And why don't you tell folks a little bit more about what the ISO designation is?
So basically it's the Insurance and Services Office. It's an organization that gets data for the insurance companies, and they help establish the premiums. And it goes from 1 through 10, 1 being the best. And it does offer some kind of a relief to both residential and commercial pays. Not all of them use it, but it is a reduction. It might be a slight reduction, but the water supply infrastructure in the town is a very important component about that. It's about 40% of that. And but it basically states how readily prepared is the fire department in that municipality if there's a fire, to get there quickly and to do a good job and to put the fire out. And a lot of training records, a lot of our equipment's top-notch equipment we have here. And it's a testament to the department and the town. We're really proud of it. We put it right on decal, right on all our trucks.
There you go.
And we're not taking that decal off, not as long as I'm here.
Good. Well, and I don't want you to take it off.
That's right. That's right. We won't be.
You know, and that speaks to this notion that I'm doing a lot of strategic planning around Dean. We're looking at the next 10 years. I'm on the master planning refresh committee for the town. And, you know, it's so easy for us to look at these very obvious, out in public kinds of things, and we sometimes forget about infrastructure. And, you know, getting that ISO rating, that is a town-wide effort, and that is the stuff that no one thinks as much about, but has to be in place in order to get that. So, you know, certainly a testament to your work to lead that, but also to the towns to make sure that we've got these sorts of things in place. It adds value to the town.
It sure does.
It really does.
I agree.
Huge.
I agree.
So what would you, so I said we're doing a bit of planning for the future here at Dean. So what are your thoughts, some things that we should be thinking about from an expectation standpoint from town and also fire services that we should be mindful of?
Well, or
at least what you want us to be thinking more about.
For the university? So it's adapting to the needs. We want, like, on the department side, we want to make sure we change with the needs of the community, such as the run count, what have you. As far as the school is concerned, you know, there's always been a good relationship, I heard before I got here, with the police here, with the Dean College, and working with them. I know we've instituted and every August before you come back to school, we want to make sure we have all 4 of our groups get familiar with the whole campus, particularly for the newest firefighters that just got hired, so they're familiar with it. And fire prevention. You know, fire prevention is, you know, that's a crucial mission. I mentioned my dad was a Providence fireman. 1977, Providence College had a tragic fire, lost a lot of students. And I was a 10-year-old kid, but you know, it's funny when you're a kid, you remember certain things. And I remember how devastating that was to the school. How devastating that was to the fire department in Providence, because my dad was there. And to the community. And those are things that I don't forget. And I think when, you know, doing inspections and, you know, taking that so serious to having that good relationship, we may be on the fire prevention side, making sure that we're working really well together in that regard. And then I know we've got a great relationship with your public safety team when we have to come in for emergency services. And I know the football games, we're always at the football games, but I attribute to you, since you've been here, the interaction's been incredible with the department, and we really appreciate that. We really do.
We do too.
It means a lot to the members. It really does.
Well, you know, it's interesting that Providence College fire, it reverberated throughout higher education. And so much of how we, I think, in places like Dean College and prior institutions I was at, so much of how we treat fire safety and fire prevention was based on that terrible fire.
And it was preventable, and as most fires are. Not all, but most fires are preventable. So that's something. We have 2 dedicated members of the fire department in Franklin for fire prevention needs. Then they'll do code enforcement, do inspections throughout the town, commercial, residential. So we have a good system in play right now, and we take it extremely seriously. So when we look at the end of the year numbers for the fires, we do like to see the numbers down on the fire side. So that says that means something, we're doing something right on the fire prevention side of the house.
So what are those things you really wish residents would stop doing that just make you really nervous?
Well, what makes me nervous the most right now is when I'm in the car and I look to the side of me driving the car, and there's somebody, most times than not a younger person, Texting and driving.
Wow.
It seems like it's getting more and more common.
Yeah.
And it's we know we've been at some pretty serious accidents where that's been a part of that.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that. I know I'm a little older, but
Yeah, me too.
I wish that really it bugs me.
Got it.
I just wish every police officer could give it. It's impossible for them, but it creates a lot of problems.
Oh, I get it.
It creates a lot of problems.
That's all I can do to mess with the radio and still drive. I mean, especially at night. I'm just like, okay, let alone looking at my phone. I think I just can't do that.
And on the fire side of it specifically, I would say, like a lot of people, when it gets really cold, they'll use space heaters. And those space heaters are really you're supposed to be with them if it's to supplement the heat. But more and more people will go to bed at night and leave them unattended. So the wintertime, we're going into a tough time right now. And chimneys, cleaning the fireplaces and the chimneys. Some people tend to forget over the years the last time the chimney's been cleaned. And right about this time of year is where we see a spike in that. So, yeah.
Well, I always ask people what they'd recommend I watch or read or see or anything like that. Give me a recommendation or two.
For you?
Yeah. Some things I can chit-chat with people about over the holidays. Some thoughts that you'd say, take a look at this or read that or what have you.
Well,
watch this or whatever.
Yeah, as far as fire safety goes,
anything.
I know what I do on my time.
Human being stuff. That's what I'm saying.
I'm a huge. I'm a sports guy.
Yep.
And I just love sports on my spare time. My son, my 26-year-old, just moved out, and I need him to get back over and watch some more games with me. And but I really enjoy football and hockey, and I enjoy that time on my off time, spending that time. Now that he just moved out, I'm an empty nester now for the first time. So
don't know what to do with
I got to get it. As long as there's food in that kitchen, he somehow makes it back. He makes it back.
Yeah,
of
course.
But that's how I spend my time.
All right. Well, I won't ask you about the Patriots, but or anything like that.
Next year. There's always next year.
All right, there we go. Hey, well, look. Thanks for joining us here with Chief McLaughlin. We know him in and around town with the fire department here in Franklin, and it was so good to have this conversation.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll join us next time, Riffin on Main Street, and we'll have some more incredible guests. And I guess I'm at this point in time, too, where I'd say happy holidays.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors, good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.